The alarms echoed through the alien battleship like distant thunder. Commander Ralgor stood on the central deck, his long silver armor glowing under the cold lights. He had fought many battles, captured many dangerous creatures, and broken the will of many planets. But today his target was different. Today he hunted something the galaxy whispered about in fear. Humans called it a honey badger, but the aliens knew it as something far worse. A creature that did not fear death, a creature that did not run, a creature that fought even when its bones were broken. Commander Ralgor stared at the hollow screen showing a blurry figure inside a containment chamber. The creature paced back and forth, claws scraping metal, glowing red eyes full of pure rage. But what confused him most was not the beast. It was the small human child standing beside it, calm as a sleeping moon. The girl looked no more than 6. Golden hair, soft blue dress, barely reaching the alien guard's knees, but every report he received said the same thing. Wherever this child went, disaster followed. Not because she caused it, but because the creature beside her did. Ralgor felt a chill run across his back, but he pushed it down. "Prepare the team," he ordered. "The trap is ready." His soldiers looked uneasy. Even their armor shook slightly, but they obeyed. They always did. The girl inside the chamber tilted her head as if she sensed them. Her small smile was gentle, innocent. Yet Ralgor felt something in her expression he could not explain, like she already knew the future. The door opened with a heavy hiss. The soldiers stepped in first. Weapons raised. The chamber lights flickered as the honey badger growled low, like the warning rumble of a storm. The creature's huge body tensed, claws tapping on the metal floor. Ralgor stepped forward, confident but cautious. "Human child," he said in a cold voice, "step away from the creature." The girl blinked slowly. "He's not a creature." She spoke softly, but her words carried across the room. "He is my friend." Her voice was small, but something in it made every soldier shift nervously. Ralgor forced a smile. "Your friend is dangerous. He has attacked 7 teams already." The girl shook her head. "He only protects me." Her hand gently rested on the honey badger's fur. The creature's growl softened for a moment. Then it stared directly at the commander with those burning red eyes. Ralgor raised his hand, signaling his guards. "Activate the containment field." The walls of the chamber flared with bright blue energy. The honey badger roared, shaking the entire room. The force field tightened around the creature like a cage squeezing inward. Sparks danced across its fur. It clawed at the energy but could not break through. For the first time, the beast looked cornered. Ralgor smirked with pride. "At last," he whispered. "The galaxy's most dangerous animal is finally mine." The soldiers cheered softly. Some lowered their weapons. Others sighed with relief. But the girl did not move. She simply stared at the commander with the same calm smile. "You think you cornered him," she said. Ralgor raised a brow. "That is exactly what I have done." The girl shook her head. "No, you made a mistake." Her voice was quiet. But something in the way she said it made the air feel colder. The honey badger suddenly stopped moving. It went completely still. The red glow in its eyes dimmed for a moment, then brightened like 2 burning suns. Ralgor felt a strange pressure in his chest. A soundless tension filled the room like the world was holding its breath. The girl took one small step forward. "You don't understand him," she whispered. "He doesn't get scared when he's trapped." The lights flickered again. "He gets angry." The containment field crackled violently, sparks shooting out in every direction. Soldiers panicked, raising rifles, shouting orders, but the girl stood in the middle of the chaos, unmoving. The honey badger threw its head back and unleashed a roar so powerful the metal floor vibrated. The force field bent inward, as if something on the inside was pushing with impossible strength. The blue light wavered, distorted, then snapped violently. The entire ship shook. Ralgor shouted, "Stabilize the field!" But it was too late. The honey badger slammed its claws into the floor, the metal dented beneath it. Its red eyes burned with a fury that made even the elite soldiers tremble. Ralgor realized the truth in that moment. He had not trapped the creature. He had provoked it. The girl looked up at him again, her voice soft as a whisper. "Now you've done it." The creature lunged forward with a speed no one expected. Soldiers fired, but their blasts bounced off its thick fur like raindrops hitting stone. One guard tried to retreat, but the honey badger was faster. It crashed into him with the force of a starship engine, sending him flying across the chamber. Ralgor stepped back, panic rising in his chest. This was no ordinary animal. It was destruction given shape. The girl walked calmly behind the beast. She did not run. She did not hide. She simply followed it with soft steps, almost floating. Ralgor felt sweat drip down his temples. He had never feared a child before. Another soldier screamed as the honey badger ripped through the control panel, sparks exploding in every direction. The chamber lights went red, doors sealed automatically, but the alarms kept blaring, warning the entire ship. Containment breach. Creature loose. Immediate danger. Ralgor stared at the girl. "What do you want?" he demanded. She tilted her head. "I want you to stop trying to hurt him." "He is dangerous," Ralgor shouted. "So are you," she replied quietly. Before he could speak again, the honey badger leaped onto the platform where he stood. Ralgor froze. It stood only a meter away now, breathing heavily, muscles trembling with power, claws clicking on the metal floor. Its eyes glowed like molten fire staring into his soul. The girl's voice floated through the silence. "He warned you many times, but you didn't listen." Ralgor swallowed hard. His hands shook. He had faced armies. He had destroyed planets. But nothing had ever made him tremble like the creature inches away from him now. The honey badger lowered its head. Ralgor knew in that moment the war he started had only just begun. The honey badger stood inches from Commander Ralgor. Its breath hot and heavy, its red eyes burning with wild fury. Ralgor did not dare move. One wrong motion could mean the end of him. The creature's claws were large enough to slice through armor like soft cloth, and he knew it. He felt smaller than he had ever felt in his life, as if all his victories and conquests meant nothing now. The young girl stepped closer, her blue dress brushing softly against the damaged floor. She did not seem afraid. She placed a gentle hand on the honey badger's thick fur, and the creature responded instantly. Its growling softened, its claws retracted slightly. It did not calm completely, but it stopped the attack long enough for her to speak. "You should not have hurt him," she said softly. Ralgor tried to speak, but his voice trembled. I did not hurt him." "You trapped him," she replied, interrupting him with a calm voice that carried a strange power. "That is the same thing." Ralgor felt heat rise on his face. He had never felt embarrassed before, not in front of a child. He cleared his throat. "He attacked my men. He destroyed equipment. He put this entire ship at risk." The girl blinked slowly. He was scared. Ralgor almost laughed at the idea. The honey badger, scared? A creature known across the galaxy for fighting until its last breath? It did not make sense. Yet as he looked at the beast beside her, something twisted inside his stomach. Maybe fear was not the right word. Maybe the creature had felt threatened, or protective. The ship shook again. Sparks flew from the broken control panels. Red emergency lights flickered across the ceiling. Ralgor snapped out of his fear. "We must leave this chamber. The ship is unstable." The girl tilted her head. "Unstable because you pushed him too much." Ralgor's jaw tightened. "Enough! You both will come with me and we will figure—" The honey badger growled, long and deep, warning him not to step closer. Ralgor froze again. The creature was reading every move he made. It was like facing a living weapon that could sense fear, anger, and lies. The girl looked up at Ralgor. "You don't have to talk to me like I'm your enemy, but if you want us to follow you, you must ask, not command." Ralgor felt something strange. Shame. He nodded slowly. "Will you come with me, so we can stop the ship from falling apart?" The girl smiled slightly. "See? That wasn't so hard." She gently guided the honey badger forward. The creature's massive steps cracked broken pieces of metal beneath it, but it followed her obediently. Ralgor moved backward, giving them space. Soldiers watched from behind damaged barriers, afraid to re-enter the chamber. One soldier whispered, "Commander, we need reinforcements. We cannot fight that thing." "Stand down," Ralgor snapped, still trying to regain control. "Lower your weapons. Any sudden move might provoke it." The soldiers obeyed carefully, but worry filled their eyes. As the group stepped into the corridor, the ship groaned under pressure. Lights flickered. Alarms continued to shout warnings. The girl looked around. "Your ship is hurt." Ralgor blinked. "Ships do not get hurt." The girl shook her head. "You think they are just machines, but you forget that everything reacts to pain. Even metal." She touched a wall panel, and it sparked under her fingers. "You forced something powerful inside it. Now the ship is scared." Ralgor stared at her, trying to understand. She spoke like she felt the ship's emotions. He wondered if she truly believed what she was saying, or if she simply saw the obvious damage everywhere. As they walked, the honey badger sniffed the air and growled softly. Ralgor stiffened. "What is it doing?" "He smells danger," the girl replied. Ralgor frowned. "There is no danger down." A loud explosion cut him off. The floor shook violently, throwing soldiers against the walls. Fire burst from a broken pipe. A heavy metal door fell from its frame and crashed onto the floor, missing the girl by only inches, but the honey badger jumped forward, placing its huge body between her and the falling debris. Ralgor stared in shock. The creature had protected her without hesitation. She hugged the honey badger's leg. "Thank you." Then she looked up at Ralgor. "See? He is not a monster." Ralgor swallowed hard. Every instinct in him, trained through decades of fighting, told him he was wrong about the creature. But his pride kept him silent. They continued down the corridor. Each step seemed like a challenge. The air grew hotter as fires spread. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Somewhere far away, metal screamed as the ship slowly lost stability. Ralgor's communicator crackled. "Commander, engineering reports massive core strain. If we do not stabilize the systems, the ship will break in half." Ralgor gritted his teeth. "We are heading there now." His eyes dropped to the girl. "Can your friend help?" She nodded. "He can. If you stop treating him like an enemy." Ralgor felt the weight of the moment. He had hunted this creature for glory, for pride, for fear of what humans could become. But now the survival of his entire ship depended on the same beast he had tried to trap. As they approached the central engineering hall, the ship trembled again. The honey badger's red eyes scanned the area like a trained guardian. The girl walked beside him, calm as always. When they reached the main control room, a raging storm of alarms filled the air. Energy sparks shot across the core chamber. The massive reactor in the center pulsed violently like a heart under too much stress. A frightened technician ran up to Ralgor. "Commander, the core is overheating. It will explode." The girl stepped forward. "He can stop it." The technician stared. "The creature? Impossible!" The girl took a deep breath. "Let him try." Ralgor hesitated. His pride fought against his fear. But one look at the collapsing ship around him made the choice clear. He nodded slowly. "Do it." The honey badger growled and stepped toward the glowing reactor. Everyone held their breath. The ship's fate now rested in the claws of the creature Ralgor had tried to capture, and none of them knew if helping would calm the beast or unleash something far worse. The honey badger stepped into the engineering chamber, its heavy claws clicking against the scorched metal floor. Every technician in the room backed away, their eyes wide with fear. None of them had ever seen such a creature up close, and the stories they had heard were never kind. Yet the small girl beside it showed no fear at all. She walked with calm confidence, like she believed nothing in the universe could hurt her as long as the creature was near. Ralgor watched from a distance, struggling to understand what was happening. He had led armies, conquered planets, and defeated enemies far stronger than her. But the presence of this child and her beast made him feel unsure for the first time in years. The ship trembled again, warning them that time was running out. The reactor pulsed loudly, glowing with unstable energy. Sparks burst from damaged cables. The floor beneath their feet shook with every surge. The main console flickered between red and white, trying to stay functional. Every second the core grew hotter, and Ralgor knew that if it reached its limit, the entire ship would tear itself apart. A technician pointed at the reactor. "Commander, the stabilization coils are melted. We cannot fix them. We cannot shut the core down either." Ralgor clenched his jaw. "Then what do you suggest? Are we supposed to watch the ship explode?" The technician looked helpless. "We have no other options." The girl stepped toward the center of the room, her small feet leaving soft echoes. "He can help. Let him go to the core." Ralgor stared at her. "What can he do? This reactor requires precise adjustments. This is not something a beast can—" The girl turned her head slightly. "You are wrong again. He is not only strong. He feels energy like humans feel heat. He can sense the weak parts." The honey badger sniffed the air, low growls vibrating in its chest. It stepped closer to the glowing reactor, ignoring the heat waves radiating from the core. Its red eyes narrowed in focus. Ralgor could not deny what he saw. The creature did not fear the danger. Instead, it looked focused, almost intelligent. A technician shouted, "Commander, the core is going to breach. We have less than 2 minutes." Ralgor felt his heart race. This was it, their last chance. He took a deep breath and looked at the girl. "Tell him to do whatever he needs to do." The girl placed her hand gently on the honey badger's leg. "Go ahead," she whispered. "But be careful. The ship is hurting." The creature gave a low rumble, like a promise. Then it leaped forward with a speed that shocked everyone. It landed beside the core chamber, claws sparking against the metal floor. With one powerful swing, it tore off a damaged panel, exposing glowing energy coils underneath. Technicians gasped, expecting everything to explode at once, but instead, the honey badger carefully placed its massive claws against the reactor housing. Ralgor whispered, "What is it doing?" The girl answered quietly, "Listening." The honey badger pressed its head against the reactor, its eyes glowing brighter. It seemed to feel every pulse, every vibration. Then it suddenly crouched low and rammed its shoulder into the base of the core. The entire ship jolted. Sparks shot across the ceiling. Alarms blared louder. Ralgor shouted, "What is it doing now?" The girl answered calmly, "He is moving the energy flow." The honey badger slammed its claws into the metal floor, carving deep lines into it. Then it hooked its claws under a loose support beam and pulled with incredible force. The beam bent and then snapped free, falling to the ground. The core began to stabilize. The technicians stared in disbelief. "It's working! The pressure is dropping!" The honey badger moved again, lightning fast. It ripped out dead wires, crushed overheating components, and pushed heavy structural plates into new positions. It was like watching a living storm of power and instinct, working with precision far beyond what Ralgor expected. The girl watched with quiet pride. He learned how machines behave. He grew up around them. He knows when they are angry. The reactor glow shifted from violent red to steady orange. The alarms changed tone. The technician's eyes widened. "Commander, the core temperature is falling." Ralgor released a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. "Is he fixing it?" The technician nodded with shaky hands. "Yes. Somehow, yes." The honey badger stepped back from the core. Its chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. It looked tired, but its eyes still burned with strength. The girl rushed forward and hugged the creature's leg. "You did it," she whispered. "Thank you." The ship's lights flickered back to normal brightness. The shaking slowed. A calm tone replaced the alarm. Ralgor looked around at the relieved crew and then down at the girl. He lowered his voice. "Human child, who are you? What are you?" The girl looked at him with wide, innocent eyes. "I'm nobody important." Ralgor frowned. "That is not true. No normal child walks around with a creature like that. No normal child stays calm in a disaster." The girl touched the honey badger's fur again. "I'm only with him because he chose me. Maybe that is why everyone else fears him. They think he is dangerous. But the truth is, he is loyal. He protects those he cares about." Ralgor looked at the creature again. It stared at him with a deep, unreadable expression. Ralgor felt the weight of that gaze. He turned to his technician. "What is the status of the ship?" "We're stable for now," the technician said, "but we need full repairs. The creature saved us. Without it, we would all be dead." Ralgor walked slowly toward the girl and the honey badger. He stopped a few meters away, careful not to threaten them. "I must know why you are here," he said softly. "Why did humans send you? Why is this creature bonded to you?" She shook her head. "Nobody sent me. You took us from our ship." Ralgor stiffened. His memory flashed, the human vessel drifting, the small life signs detected, the order he gave to capture anything unusual. The girl looked down at the floor. "We were running." "From what?" Ralgor asked. The girl lifted her eyes, and they were suddenly filled with something dark, something ancient, something that made Ralgor's skin crawl. "From something far worse than you," she whispered. The honey badger growled deeply, and Ralgor realized with dread. Something else was coming. Ralgor felt the temperature in the room drop a little, even though the fires had stopped and the core was stabilizing. The girl's quiet words echoed in his mind. Something far worse than you. He had battled enemy fleets, destroyed rebel planets, and crushed dangerous species. The idea that something even more terrifying existed unsettled him deeply. The honey badger stood protectively in front of the girl, its eyes still glowing red, watching every small movement in the room. Ralgor noticed that whenever she grew worried, the creature's stance shifted, claws tensing, body rising like a shield. It was no ordinary guardian. It reacted like it could sense threats before they appeared. Ralgor swallowed hard. "What is following you? What forced you to run?" The girl looked at the floor for a moment, her fingers playing with the honey badger's thick fur. "They are hunters. They don't chase because they need food. They chase because they like the fear." Ralgor frowned. "Hunters? What species?" She shook her head slowly. "Not a species. Not anymore. They were changed. Something turned them into something broken. Something hungry." The ship creaked again, though the core was stable. Ralgor felt a sudden wave of unease. "How close are they?" The girl looked up at him with calm, sad eyes. "Closer than you think." Before Ralgor could ask more, the lights flickered again. The ship's warning system activated with a sharp, rising tone. A soldier ran inside, panic on his face. "Commander! We detected a small craft approaching from the dark sector." Ralgor snapped into command mode. "Is it human?" The soldier shook his head violently. "No, it's something else. It's not showing any readable signature." The girl's voice was soft, but every word cut like cold wind. "That is them." The honey badger growled, low and dangerous. The sound vibrated through the metal floor. Ralgor felt his blood run cold. "How did they find you?" The girl sighed gently. "They always find what they want." The ship shook again, just a small tremor, but enough to make the soldiers flinch. The technician near the console reported, "Commander, the approaching craft is slowing. It is scanning us." Ralgor turned sharply. "Shut down our signal. Block all transmissions." "We're trying," the technician replied. "But something is forcing a connection. It's overriding our systems." The girl stepped closer to the honey badger. "They are listening to my heartbeat." Ralgor stared at her. "What does that mean?" "They can feel life," she whispered. "They follow anything that feels fear. And they are very hungry." The honey badger's claws scraped the floor. The creature's muscles tightened like coiled metal. It sensed the danger long before anyone else. The ship's communication screen suddenly lit up with a distorted image. Static crackled. The lights dimmed to a sickly yellow. A low, unnatural voice hummed through the speakers, as if the sound was being dragged across metal. Ralgor stepped back in shock. "What is that?" The girl's eyes lowered. "One of the hunters." The screen flickered, and a blurry shape appeared. Something tall, something thin, something without a clear form. A creature with hollow eyes that glowed faintly, scanning the camera like it was searching for a scent. The voice rasped, long and broken. "We found you!" Soldiers froze. No one dared breathe. The girl stepped behind the honey badger, placing her small hands on its back. "They don't stop. They don't sleep. They don't think. They only chase." Ralgor struggled to regain control. "Why do they want you?" "Not me," she whispered. "Him." Everyone looked at the honey badger. The creature stood tall, larger and more terrifying than ever. Red energy pulsed under its fur like embers glowing inside a beast forged from fire. Ralgor's voice trembled. "Why him?" The girl looked up at the honey badger, her expression soft. "Because he can fight them. Because he has something they want. Because he refuses to obey them." A deep rumble filled the ship, the sound of the approaching craft vibrating through space. It was like something scraping claws on the hull. The technician panicked. "Commander, the vessel is attaching itself to us," Ralgor shouted. "Seal all doors. Prepare for boarding." But before he could issue more orders, the ship went completely dark. Total silence. Then a metallic tearing sound echoed through the corridor, like something clawing its way inside. Ralgor's heart pounded in his chest. "They are breaking in," the girl whispered. "They always find a way." A faint glow spread across the honey badger's eyes, brighter than before. The creature's muscles rose and fell like a storm building under its skin. The girl pressed her forehead against its fur. "Please protect us." The ship lights flickered back on, but only dimly. The emergency systems struggled to stay alive. A red warning flashed on every screen. "Hull breach, Deck 7. Hull breach, Deck 6. Hull breach, Deck 5. They were climbing through the ship floor by floor. Ralgor grabbed a blaster from a nearby crate. "Everyone fall back! Form a line! We hold them here!" The soldiers scrambled into positions, fear shaking their hands. A sound echoed down the corridor, a clicking, scraping noise like bone tapping metal. Then another, then many. Ralgor's eyes widened. "How many are there?" The girl answered in a quiet voice. "One hunter is bad, but they never come alone." The scraping grew louder. Shadows appeared at the end of the corridor, long and twisted, moving in ways that defied the shape of bodies. The soldiers raised their weapons, aiming into the darkness. The honey badger stepped forward, placing itself between the girl and the approaching horror. It lowered its head, claws extended, eyes blazing with rage. The girl whispered, "They want him because he is the only one who ever escaped them." A tall shadow stepped into the flickering light. It was thin, wrong, its limbs bending in unnatural angles. Its hollow eyes scanned the room. The voice came again, broken and hungry. "We take him." The honey badger roared, shaking the entire hallway, and the hunters answered with a scream that chilled every soul on the ship. The hallway felt colder as the hunters stepped forward. Their thin limbs dragged along the floor, leaving long scratch marks. Their hollow eyes glowed faintly, fixed on the honey badger like predators who had finally found the one prey they truly wanted. Soldiers trembled behind their weapons, their breathing uneven. Ral Gore stood in front of them, forcing himself not to show fear. He had to stay strong. If he broke now, his entire crew would break with him. The honey badger's red eyes glowed brighter, flames trapped inside its body. It lowered its head and growled, a sound so deep the walls vibrated. The little girl stood behind it, gripping its fur tightly. Her small fingers shook, but her voice didn't. "They won't stop unless you fight." Ralgor took a slow step closer. "How do we defeat them?" The girl looked up at him, and the sadness in her eyes made him feel heavier. "You can't defeat them," she whispered. "But he can." The first hunter lunged forward. It moved so fast that even the battle-hardened soldiers didn't react until it was already halfway through the corridor. The honey badger charged with furious strength, meeting it in the center with a violent crash that sent sparks flying. The creature's claws sliced through the hunter's thin body, ripping dark smoke like flesh apart. The hunter screamed, a sharp, twisted sound that hurt the ears. Its body didn't bleed. Instead, it folded into itself like shadows collapsing. But another hunter crawled over it, climbing across the walls like a spider. Then another followed, and another. The soldiers opened fire. Blaster shots filled the hallway with bright bursts of light. The beams hit the hunters, but instead of falling, their bodies only rippled, as if the shots passed through fog, not flesh. A soldier cried out, "Our weapons don't work!" Ralgor's voice cracked. "Keep shooting! Slow them down!" The honey badger slammed its massive body into two hunters at once, smashing them into the walls. Its claws tore through their smoky forms. The hallway shook with every blow. The girl stayed behind it, trusting the beast completely. One hunter slipped past the attack and rushed toward her, its long fingers stretched out like sharp wires. Ralgor saw it and ran without thinking. He reached the girl just in time, grabbing her arm and pulling her back. The hunter's claws scraped the floor where she had stood. The girl looked up at Ralgor, surprised. "You saved me!" Ralgor breathed heavily. I couldn't let anything happen to you." The honey badger roared, smashing into the hunter that had threatened her. The beast's rage exploded, and it tore the creature apart with brutal force. The girl whispered, "Thank you, Commander." Before Ralgor could respond, the ship shook violently. The ceiling panels cracked. Sparks rained down like burning snow. A technician's voice came through the damaged speakers. "Commander, more hunters are breaking through Deck 4. They're spreading across the ship." Ralgor clenched his teeth. "We must retreat to the central control room. We can regroup there." The soldiers began backing away, firing wildly to keep the hunters back. But the hunters moved with eerie silence, crawling along walls, dropping from ceilings, their bodies twisting like liquid shadows. The honey badger fought like a storm. Every step shook the floor. Every strike sent hunters flying. But Ralgor noticed something. The beast was getting tired. Its breaths grew heavier, its movements slower. Even the bright glow in its eyes flickered. The girl felt it too. She placed her hand on its side. "Please don't stop," she whispered. "I need you." The honey badger growled softly, as if responding to her words, forcing more strength into its body. It stood tall again and struck harder. But the hunters kept coming. For every one destroyed, 2 more crawled from the darkness. Ralgor shouted, "Move! Get to the control room!" The group ran through the corridor, the honey badger guarding the rear. Hunters chased them, screeching, crawling like nightmares that refused to die. Doors slammed behind the soldiers, but hunters clawed through metal like it was soft. As they reached the control deck, Ralgor ordered the doors sealed and reinforced. The soldiers pushed heavy equipment against it, anything to buy more time. The girl looked around the room. They won't stop. They will break in. Ralgor faced her. What do they want with the honey badger? Why is he so important? The girl looked at the floor. Her voice was quiet. He used to be like them. A cold silence filled the room. Ralgor's eyes widened. What do you mean? She hugged herself, trying not to shake. He was taken by the hunters when he was young. They tried to change him. They tried to break him, but he escaped. The honey badger growled softly, almost ashamed. They hate him for that, she said. They want him back, or they want him dead. Ralgor stared in disbelief. The beast that terrified armies had once been a prisoner, a victim. Yet it had broken free when none of the hunters ever had. He looked at the honey badger with new understanding. So he is their enemy because he refused to become one of them. The girl nodded. He chose to protect life instead of destroying it. That is why I trust him. A loud crash tore through the door. The metal bent inward. Hunters screeched from the other side. The soldiers raised their weapons again, voices shaking. Ralgor shouted, "Hold the line!" But the girl walked forward, placing her small hand on the honey badger's back. "You don't have to fight alone," she whispered. The honey badger's eyes glowed so bright the room lit up with red light. Its muscles tensed, its claws extended. It understood. Ralgor watched the 2 of them, the child and the monster standing together like they were one single force, one will, one flame. The door cracked again. The girl whispered to the honey badger, "It's okay. I'm here." The creature roared with a strength even greater than before, a sound so powerful the entire control room shook. And as the door began to break apart, Ralgor realized something terrifying. The real battle was not the hunters breaking in. It was everything the honey badger had been running from. And now, he would stop running. The door finally burst inward with a violent crash, metal flying across the control room. Hunters poured through the gap like a wave of living shadows, their thin bodies twisting unnaturally, their glowing eyes searching for one thing, the honey badger. Soldiers fired desperately. Blaster beams filled the room, but the hunters did not fall. They moved around the shots, bending like smoke, crawling across walls and ceilings, closing in from every direction. The honey badger stepped forward, facing the swarm. Its entire body glowed with burning red energy, as if fire lived inside its bones. The girl stood directly behind it, holding onto its fur, her small face calm even as the darkness filled the room. Ralgor shouted over the chaos, "Fall back! Protect the child!" But the honey badger roared so loudly it silenced the entire room. Even the hunters paused for a moment, their hollow eyes widening as if they recognized something they feared. The girl whispered, "Don't be afraid. I'm with you." Something changed in the honey badger at that moment. Its muscles tightened, its chest rose sharply, and a deep vibration spread through the entire room. The creature stepped forward, placing itself completely between the girl and the monsters. The hunters screeched and lunged, and the honey badger attacked. It moved with a speed no one had ever seen. Every strike shook the ground. Every roar cut through the hunter's screams. Its claws glowed with red energy, slicing through dark bodies that collapsed like shadows breaking apart. The hunters swarmed, but the honey badger tore through them, throwing some across the room, crushing others beneath its heavy claws. But there were too many. Hunters climbed onto its back, clawing into its thick fur. One wrapped its long fingers around the creature's neck. Another latched onto its leg. The honey badger roared in pain but refused to fall. It shook its body, smashing hunters into walls, tearing them apart with its teeth. But more kept coming, crawling over each other like insects. The girl stepped forward. "Stop hurting him!" Her voice echoed strangely through the room. The hunters froze for a moment, their hollow eyes turned toward her. Something in her voice, something innocent, something pure, seemed to disturb them. The honey badger used that moment to break free. It slammed its body into the floor, crushing the hunters holding onto it. It stood again, trembling, covered in burns and cuts. But its eyes glowed brighter than ever. Ralgor couldn't look away. "In all my years, I have never seen anything fight like that." The girl touched the honey badger's leg, tears filling her eyes. "You don't have to fight forever. Please stop running." The honey badger lowered its head, pressing it against her shoulder. She hugged it tightly. A loud crack echoed through the ceiling. Everyone looked up. The structure shook violently. A large shape lowered itself through the broken metal, a massive hunter, far larger than the others. Its body was almost solid, its eyes brighter, its limbs longer. It dropped to the floor with a heavy thud that shook the entire deck. Ralgor whispered, "Is that their leader?" The girl trembled. "That is the first one. The one who tried to change him." The giant hunter stepped closer, its hollow eyes locked on the honey badger. It opened its mouth, releasing a deep, broken voice that sounded like dozens of whispers speaking at once. "Come back." The honey badger stepped in front of the girl, growling with deep hatred. The hunters behind the leader spread out, forming a circle. They didn't want the girl. They didn't want the soldiers. They wanted him. The leader reached out, long fingers stretching. "You belong to us," the girl shouted. "No, he doesn't!" The leader's head snapped toward her. Its eyes widened with strange anger. The honey badger roared and launched forward, smashing into the giant hunter with unbelievable force. The two collided like meteors, sending a shockwave through the room. They slammed into the far wall, tearing through metal. Sparks exploded. The ship shook violently. Ralgor held onto a railing. "The ship won't survive this!" But the honey badger didn't stop. It clawed, bit, and slammed its entire weight into the giant hunter. The creature fought back with equal rage, its long limbs whipping like blades, cutting deep into the honey badger's flesh. Blood hit the floor. The girl screamed, "No!" The honey badger pushed harder, its eyes blazing with fury. It spun and threw the giant hunter to the ground, crushing it beneath its claws. The leader screeched, kicking and twisting, but the honey badger refused to let go. The girl ran to them, tears streaming. "Please come back! Please!" The honey badger looked at her, and for a moment its red eyes softened. Then it made a choice. It grabbed the giant hunter with both claws and dragged it toward the broken reactor chamber door nearby. The reactor was still unstable. One wrong surge would destroy everything. Ralgor understood immediately. "No, he's going to destroy it!" The girl cried out. "Don't do it!" But the honey badger looked back at her with a deep, gentle sadness. A goodbye. And then it threw the giant hunter into the unstable reactor chamber. The chamber exploded with bright light. A shockwave spread through the ship. The hunters screamed and collapsed into swirling shadows, disappearing into the air. The giant leader dissolved in the blinding light. When the glow faded, The honey badger was gone. The girl collapsed to the floor, crying softly. Ralgor ran to her side and knelt down. "He saved us all," he whispered. She nodded through tears. "He always saves others, even when it hurts him." Ralgor gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "He was the bravest creature I've ever seen." The ship alarms went silent. The threat was gone. The hunters had disappeared with their leader's destruction. The girl wiped her tears, looking at the empty chamber. "He isn't gone forever," she whispered. "He is stronger than death." Ralgor looked at her in confusion. "What do you mean?" She stood up slowly. "Honey badgers never give up. Not even when the universe tries to break them." A faint red glow flickered inside the broken chamber. Ralgor's eyes widened. "Is that?" The girl smiled softly. "He's coming back." The red glow pulsed again, stronger, brighter. And the story of the honey badger was not over. Not for her, not for humanity, not for the galaxy.